On today's episode, we'll be discussing how you can be the leader you want to see. And I believe that each and every one of us is created to be a leader in some way, shape, form, or capacity. Now, each one of us has varying, degrees or levels of our leadership capacity, but everyone is designed and created to be a leader. Some are leaders of their families, leaders of their children, leaders of their household. Some are leaders of teams. Some are leaders of organizations, cities, states, countries. And so leadership, though, is all about impact and influence. And so we all are in some way, shape, or form influencing others. And so that's what leadership is ultimately about. And so we can either be influencing others positively or negatively. We can be influencing others to help create success, to stabilize mediocrity, or to go in the total, complete opposite and wrong direction. But we all have the responsibility of leadership. And it's very, very important for us to understand that responsibility. And so we need to be the leaders that we ultimately want to see. So leadership requires, number one, great sacrifice, and it requires us to be willing to serve others and put others' needs before ourselves. So in order to be a great leader within your family, within your friends, within your circle of influence, your team, your organization, you've got to be willing to put others' needs before yourself and sacrifice and give of yourself to help meet their respective needs. So when we look at our leadership today in this time, we want leaders that care about the things that are pertinent to us, the things that impact our communities, the things that impact our households. And that's what a leader has to do. They have to be willing to serve the people, serve those around him or her. And so it requires servitude. The next thing a leader is responsible for is elevating others. So as a leader, you have the responsibility to elevate yourself first so that you can elevate your team. So and elevate your family, your kids. So it's your responsibility to help make those around you better at the end of the day. You help set the tone. You help set the standard of expectation. That's what a leader ultimately does. So, they come in to an organization or within the family, whoever the matriarch may ultimately be, we come in and they set the tone. This is how, we're going to do things within this household, within this family, within this organization that's going to positively impact everyone for their betterment. The next thing, that leaders do, that we have to ultimately be and incorporate within ourselves to be great leaders, is we got to give. Leaders ultimately give of themselves, they give of their time, they give of their resources, they give of their knowledge. So going back to elevating oneself, if as a parent, if I'm a parent and, I want to lead my children successfully, then it requires me to give of my time, but it also requires me to continuously, learn and to grow myself as an individual, as a parent in certain subject matter. So whether that is, spiritually, whether that is, professionally in business and finance, whatever it may ultimately be, because in order for me to then be able to help those around me and to elevate them, I've got to first know and understand certain things so I can help elevate them. So leaders have to be givers. We have to elevate, others. And it requires us to study. It requires us to put in certain time. It requires us to learn more about something. So, if I want to pass along, a business to my child, well, first I have to understand the nuances and the dynamics about how to run a successful business in order to help position or to teach, my child or others around me how they can be successful at business or whatever, given area or field it may ultimately be. The next thing is that in order to be a great leader, we have to be authentic. We have to be able to be relatable and to keep it real, with those around us. So, based upon as well certain experiences that we've experienced individually, we have to take those experiences to then be able to help use those experiences to relate to someone else and to give that information, give that experience to those that are around us. So it requires us to be able to be relatable, approachable. That's what we want to see within great leaders, and that always, starts within ourselves as well. So if I'm a successful person, or if I've experienced something, whether that be, the loss of a child, whether it be the loss of a parent, the loss of a spouse, if I've endured, certain, hardships, if I've gone bankrupt, if I've lost a business, if I've, done all of these things, or, I've failed in a marriage, or whatever it may ultimately be, as a great leader, I take those experiences and I learn from them, but also I'm able to be relatable. I don't always necessarily do things right and always necessarily the perfect person as a leader, but I take, those failures, those mishaps, those experiences, and I use them so that I can be able to relate to others. The next thing is, as a leader, we have to be constant, consistent, reliable. We cannot be up and down all of the time. We're up here, at one moment, and then we're down here at the next moment. Based upon, whatever may ultimately happen, you have to be constant. You have to be solid, and you have to remain the same. So, when things go wrong, the leader remains constant, consistent, steady. And so when life happens, obstacles take place, something happens with your family, something happens with your kids, how do you react? How do you respond? Do you flip out and go crazy? Do you lose your mind? Or are you able to remain cool, calm, consistent, reliable? And also as a leader, we have to make sure that we are solution oriented. So there's going to be problems that exist. Problems come about. How am I going to, get past this hurdle? How am I going to, make this happen for my kids? How am I going to make this happen professionally? How am I going to make this happen for my organization? At the end of the day, it's a leader's job to solve problems. Be solution oriented. If we look at certain things and we just find out all the reasons, that we can complain about, that's not a leader's job. That's not a leader's responsibility. It's to solve things. So just as we demand certain things of our leaders, we want answers. We want this fixed. We want this to take place by this certain date and duration of time. The same thing applies to ourselves in being great and effective leaders within our household, within the people that are ultimately around us. And leaders plan in advance. So in order for us to, whether it's to build generational wealth, whether it's to accomplish, many different things that we have for our organization, for our family, we have to plan in advance, not just see just within the current, but also see within the future. And then build the roadmap as it relates to how we get from point A to point B. Building that roadmap, creating the vision, planning in advance, and then ultimately putting in place the strategy to ultimately propel us from one point to the next. And so one of the marks of a truly great leader lies within the reflection of those closest to him or her, the impact that they ultimately have. So when we look at ourselves and we look at the people that are around us that we influence, what do their lives look like? How do we positively impact them? Are they better as a result of the things that we're feeding and pouring into them? Am I the person who ultimately, helps to encourage, helps to motivate the people that are around me? Do I help raise the standard? Do I help raise the bar? Those are the things that we ultimately have to ask ourselves, and it's our responsibility to ultimately do and become. So, if someone is going through a hard time, am I the leader? Am I the person who, will reach out to them? Or do I only show up when, I need something? Do I think about a person and write, a just thinking about you card? Do I, write a sympathy card? Do I just send a text message? Hey, I'm just thinking about you. Just want to encourage you, today. That's the role and the responsibility of the leader, is to make those around us better. Be willing to give of our time, our resources, to elevate others. Because our circle, our community is dependent upon the leadership that exists. It's dependent upon the leadership that exists. So if we want the best for our communities, our families, our organizations, it starts with I. It starts with self becoming a better leader so that I can have a greater level of impact and influence for positive change. And that's what it's ultimately about. And as a leader, it's our responsibility as well, lastly, is to breed other leaders, not to breed followers, but to breed leaders. So if I can ultimately, help lead other persons to lead, then what happens? Then they in turn as well, they take that information and then they utilize it to help impact and influence their circle of influence. So then it becomes, the law of multiplication. So now we're multiplying ourselves over and over and over again, and that's how we create, effective change as well. So leadership is up to us in regards to how impactful we are. We have to make necessary, sacrifices as a leader. We have to be willing to put ourselves first. We have to give of ourselves, give of our time. We have to study. It's on us to elevate our team and to make the things that we want to see, better within our families, within our communities. It starts with I.